And we're going to hear the ticket appeals first, correct? Okay. Good morning again. This is a code enforcement ticket appeal hearing for the city of North Miami. Today is, what's today? October 16th, 2019, and I am Beatrice Kezel, Special Magistrate for the city of North Miami. The purpose of this hearing is to determine if a code violation exists at your property, as observed and cited by a code enforcement officer of the city. If the city is not able to prove its case, then I will dismiss the case and you may leave. These proceedings are being recorded. Therefore, all persons who are speaking should do so one at a time to ensure that all testimony is clearly audible on the recording device. If English is not your primary language, then please inform me when I call your case. We have a we will have a translator to assist you during the proceedings. When your case is called, the property owner, agent for the property owner, and any witness that you may have should come forward to the podium on the left side of the room. When asked, please speak directly into the microphone and say aloud your name, your business or mailing address, and your relationship to the property. If you are not the property owner or an attorney representing the property owner, then you must present a notarized power of attorney affidavit in order for your testimony to be taken on behalf of the property owner. The city will present its case first, and then the property owner and or violator will be given an opportunity to testify on their own behalf, to bring forward witnesses to testify, to present evidence and photographs, and to cross-examine the city's witnesses. Following the case presentation, I will issue a finding of fact on the case. If I find that a violation of city codes exists or existed at your property, then I will affirm the ticket and impose a fine and court costs. If I find sufficient cause to postpone enforcement action at this time, I will table this case proceeding to another hearing date in the future. If you do not agree with my finding of fact and or ruling, then the property owner may appeal the administrative order on the case to the circuit court. An appeal must be filed within 30 days of the date of the execution of the administrative order to be appealed. In accordance with Florida statutes, if a person decides to appeal any decision made by the special magistrate with respect to any matter considered at these proceedings, then the person will need a verbatim record of the proceeding. This record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. The cost of obtaining the verbatim record of shall be the sole responsibility of the appellant, and it is recommended that persons who plan to appeal their case should provide their own court reporter at this proceedings. Pursuant to city codes, if the city of North Miami prevails in prosecuting a case before the special magistrate, the city shall be entitled to recover all costs incurred in prosecuting the case. The current cost assessment amount is $100 per case. Once the city records an order that imposes a fine and authorizes a lien against the property, then the city will charge additional administrative fees to record and release the lien. If you're present and will be given testimony on a case, please rise and raise your right hand, so the officer could administer the oath. Please rise and raise your right hand.
Anyone giving testimony today, please rise, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say aloud, I do. I do. David,
Please remain standing for the oath. Did I say oath? For the pledge? Yes.
what's the flag?
Back here.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please announce for the record if there are any additions, corrections, or deletions to the hearing agenda.
We have one case that was complied. Albert J. Roseman in Beverly. Case number CEPOD 2019-00007.
All right, you may call your first case.
The first case is Alejandro J. Lujan and Jose Trujillo, CTBPR 2019-00088.
Is anyone present? Alejandro? Okay,
Would you like me to proceed, Judge?
yes, please.
The city would like to call Officer Jose Perez. One moment.
He's a translator.
Sir, can you please state your name for the record?
Code Enforcement Officer, Code Enforcement Officer Jose Perez.
And Mr. Perez, how long have you been a code enforcement officer for?
Approaching 2 years now.
Now, did you give a violation on June 27, 2019 to the property located at 13305 North Miami Avenue?
Yes.
And what was that violation for?
Work without a permit.
Can we please, Dunia? Do you recognize this?
Yes.
How do you recognize this?
That is the citation that I wrote, and I recognize because it has my name along with my signature.
And what was the work that was done without a permit?
A fence was installed in the rear without a permit.
The city would like to introduce the civil violation ticket into evidence.
Admitted.
Mr. Press, can you please tell the court how you came about this violation?
Well, on or about 6/27/2019, I was doing a zone inspection of my area, and I came across a property that was working without a permit. They were remodeling the interior of the property. They were working on the roof, along with contractor vehicles that were parked outside. Once I approached the property, I observed the violations, and I cited the property for the work.
Do you recognize this photo?
Yes,
How do you recognize it?
I took that photograph, and it's time-stamped along with my credentials.
Is it in the same or substantially the same viewing of what you witnessed on June 27, 2019?
Yes.
The city would like to introduce photos into evidence.
Okay.
The city has no further questions for this witness.
Actually, I need to know what is the notice for today's hearing?
The notice, one second. Yeah. Can we place that on the screen, please? Mr. Perez, do you recognize this?
Yes.
How do you recognize this?
This is the photograph I took when I posted the property on September 24th, 2019 at approximately 3:06 p.m.
Thank you.
And when you said you posted, you mean for today's hearing?
Correct. That is the posting of the notice to appear.
Okay. All right, based on the unrebutted testimony of the code enforcement officer and the evidence presented, I find there's good notice, given proper notice, the owners have failed to appear. Hereby find in favor of the city. The ticket is
$500.
$500? Okay, I will affirm it.
Next case is Gabriel Fuentes Bravo, CTBPR 2019-00128. City would like to call Code Enforcement Officer Shauna Sanders.
The one, what is it? Gabrielle Fuentes Bravo?
Gabrielle Fuentes Bravo?
No? Okay.
Good morning, Ms. Sanders. Can you please state your name for the record?
Shanna Sanders,
And what is your position at the City of North Miami?
Code Enforcement Officer,
And how long have you been a code enforcement officer for?
2006.
Now, did you give a violation to the property address at 13515 Northeast 24th Court in North Miami, Florida on September 19, 2019?
Yes, I did.
And what was it for?
It was for building without permit for installing a sidewalk.
Now, do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It's my signature, my handwriting, date, everything by me.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition as when you wrote it?
It appears to be.
The city would like to introduce the civil violation ticket into evidence.
Noted.
Ms. Sanders, how did you come across this property?
It was called in anonymously through a complaint
And what was the complaint?
that they had removed some trees and installed the sidewalk on the side of the property.
And did you go there and witness this yourself?
I did witness the sidewalk while out taking pictures. The property owner came out and spoke to me, and we had a conversation, but yes, I did observe it after it was already installed.
Now, do you recognize, I'm showing you 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
It's what I observed when I was out there on September 19th. I see that it's date, time-stamped by me.
Are they in the same or substantially the same condition as they were when you took the photographs?
Yes, they appear to be.
The city would like to introduce the photographs into evidence.
Okay.
Ms. Sanders, can you please show the court is this the sidewalk that was constructed?
It appears to be, yes.
And what was the conversation that you had with the homeowner?
He mostly stated that he did not know he needed a permit for installing a sidewalk. At that time, I explained to him I would give him a couple of days so that he can come and submit the application. It was, I believe, a Saturday that I went out there. I gave him until that Wednesday. When I came back to work on Wednesday, still no permit had been or application had been submitted to the city, so I went ahead and proceeded to issue the ticket.
Now, did you provide proper notice to this property?
Yes, I did. I posted the property with the notice to appear.
Now, is this the notice to appear that you provided to the property?
Yes, it is.
Is it for today's hearing date at 9 a.m., 10/16/2019?
Yes, it is.
The city has no further questions.
Based on the unrebutted testimony of the code enforcement officer and the evidence presented, I find that the violation did exist. I also find good notice. Given proper notice, the owners have failed to appear. Hereby find in favor of the city. The ticket for
$500.
is affirmed.
The next case is G&J Ventures, Inc., CTMIS 2019-00023. Code Enforcement Officer John Dorville.
What is it?
G&J Ventures, Inc.
Is anyone here for
Family
G&J
Dollar?
Ventures?
Any here on behalf of Family Dollar?
Family Dollar? No.
Good morning. Can you please state your name for the record?
Good morning, John Dorval, City North Miami Code Compliance Office.
And how long have you been a code enforcement officer?
Roughly 2 years.
And Mr. Dorville, did you give a violation on August 8th, 2019 to the property at 8880 Northwest 15th Street? I'm sorry, that's the mailing address. To Family Dollar at 14200 Northeast 6th Avenue in North Miami, Florida?
I submitted a ticket for the property owner of the business.
Which one are we looking at? I have 14610 Northeast Sixth Avenue.
Yes.
Oh, I'm looking at the ticket. Location of violation 14200.
That's the location. If you look further up on the ticket, it should have the address of the property owner.
Oh, that's the address of the property owner. That's 8880 Northwest 15th Street.
Yes.
But the violation is for the property at 14200 Northeast 6th Avenue.
14610.
Is this, do
Okay,
you see
that's
this,
very confusing.
do you see
the-
this ticket?
I do.
This is the violation from August 8, 2019.
Okay, I'm looking at the ticket. The address on the ticket is 14200 Northeast Sixth Avenue. Got
Correct.
it.
That's what I
Okay.
have, yes.
Okay.
No,
Do you recognize this civil violation ticket?
I do.
How do you recognize it?
It is my handwriting. Is the issue that is the ticket that I issued.
And what did you issue this ticket for?
For the city ordinance of shopping carts in the public right of way.
Now, is this in the same or substantially the same condition as when you wrote the violation on 8/8/19?
That's correct.
The city would like to introduce the civil violation ticket for this case into evidence.
Yes.
Mr. Dorville, can you please explain to the court how you came about this violation?
Obviously, on my routine, as part of my job, I drive through the avenues and streets of the city of North Miami. I came upon a Family Dollar cart in the public right of way, which is the swale, and saw a Family Dollar cart with a piece of plywood in it on the side.
Now, do you recognize this photograph?
I do.
How do you recognize this photograph?
It's a photo that I took, and it has my stamp on it with the date and time and my name.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition as when you took the photograph?
That photo is the same, yes.
The city would like to introduce the photograph into evidence.
Yes, but I'm still having a little issue here.
What's the issue,
Um,
Judge?
I'm seeing two different addresses for G&J Ventures, so I want to make sure that we have given proper notice.
On the ticket?
The notice to appear, property owner G&J Ventures, Inc., address 14610 Northeast Sixth Avenue. That's what's written on the notice to appear. And on the actual ticket, where is it?
The notice
The
was
actual ticket has 14200 Northeast Sixth Avenue. So I want to make sure that notice for,
Judge, if Your Honor, if I can direct Your Honor to the appeal notice,
okay,
and I'll bring it up. They received notice. You see here from J&G Ventures, Inc., their address of 8880 Northwest 15th Street in Doral, Florida. They put in the civil violation ticket number, the folio number, and the 14610
tell me
Northeast
which
6th
one we're
Avenue.
looking at. Let me pull it.
It's
up.
on the screen. It's under the appeal notice.
Appeal notice.
So
okay,
they
okay.
received notice for this hearing. They requested it. On their letterhead, they have both addresses, which we have as well, which is the Doral address and the North Miami address.
Okay. Oh, they also put the 14610. Okay. So do they probably cover two areas, 142 through 146?
The 142 is the area where the cart was found,
I see.
yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, that explains it.
I'll go
I
back.
just wanted to make sure that we have proper notice. Okay, go ahead.
Going back to the photograph now, how do you know that this was a Family Dollar cart?
It's embossed with the Family Dollar. You can't see it in the photo, but obviously it's the Family Dollar cart, and if you scroll in a little further, you can see it's kind of scratched off, but it says Family Dollar.
And you personally witnessed this.
It's visible with the human eye, correct?
And because you found it outside, that's why you gave them a violation for their shopping cart being in the public right
I
away.
found it, I mean, obviously that location that I cited was 14610. I found this cart at 14200 Northeast 6.
Okay.
So 4 blocks away roughly.
I have no further questions for this witness.
You found the cart 4 blocks away from the business?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the city ordinance, there's a city ordinance, I believe I cited it, it's chapter, I think it's 11-142,
142 D.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the city has issues with carts, finding various business shopping carts in the public right-of-way, whether it's the street or the swale. I believe the city has been in contact with many of the businesses in the area and referenced it. I know personally that I've gone to most of the businesses in my area that have shopping carts, and I've provided them a copy of the ordinance. So, as kind of a standard practice, or the practice of the code compliance, if we find a shopping cart for a specific business, then we cite them based on their cart being outside the purview of their business. This particular, there's several Family Dollars in North Miami. However, this one was simply 4 blocks away, but on the same strip. If I was in another area further, like there's a Family Dollar on 135, I think it's 280 Northeast 135th Street. If there was an issue, if I found a cart closer to that location, I would have cited that location. So it's not a specific location, it's just based on where we find the cart and what business that has been noticed about the ordinance, what business is closer to that area. And that's why I cited that particular Family Dollar.
Okay.
Being it's on the same avenue, and just roughly simply 4 blocks away.
All right, thank you for that.
Yes.
Based on the unrebutted testimony of the code enforcement officer and the evidence presented, I find that the violation did exist. I also find good notice, given proper notice to owners that failed to appear, hereby find in favor of the city. And the ticket in, let's
I believe it's
see,
for $250.
$250.
$250 is affirmed.
Thank you.
The next case is Gerald M. Uribe, case number CTTRA 2019-000009. Good morning. The officer is Shanna Sanders.
Good morning, sir. Please state your full name and relationship to the property.
My name is Gerald Michael Uribe, and I am the owner.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Can you please state your name for the record?
Shanna Sanders,
Ms. Sanders, and what is your position?
Code Enforcement Officer.
And did you come across the property at 12490 Croton Road in North Miami, Florida, 33181 on September 13, 2019?
I believe so.
Do you can we please place a ticket on the screen? Do you recognize this ticket?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
It's my handwriting, my signature.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition as when you wrote it?
Yes, it is.
Now, what did you give a violation to this property for?
For tree abuse.
The city would like to introduce the ticket into evidence at this time.
Okay.
Ms. Sanders, can you please explain to the court how you came about this property and the violation?
This case was actually given to me by Code Manager Crystal Cardo right before the hurricane. I was asked to go out and do an inspection, sent photos. Upon returning back from, I guess we were released from hurricane duty. We went home, had to secure our own properties, came back to work, noticed a tree. But again, it was brought to me by our code manager.
Now, I'm going to be showing you a couple of photos. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize these photos?
My signature, time, date stamped on the date that I was out there, days before.
Are they in the same or substantially the same condition as when you took these photos?
It looks to be.
It looks to be, or it is?
It is, yes, it looks like it.
Thank you. Now, what are these photographs depicting? If you
It
can tell the
shows,
court.
of course, the front of the house door. First one showing the notice that was posted, the ticket that was posted at the property. Second one, the front of the house, and then the other ones look to be the tree that was cut.
Now, is this a tree that was in front of the house that you cited the property owner for?
Yes, it was.
At this time, the city would like to introduce the photographs into evidence.
Okay.
Now, did you have an opportunity to speak to anyone on the property?
No, I didn't. I knocked several times, went and visited the property on a couple of occasions, actually 3, and not once did I have any contact with the property owner.
Now, do you know if this is one of the trees that is protected?
Yes, it is. It is a protected tree.
And how do you know that?
I took photos of the property and sent the address to a company that we, outsource, who does a tree arborist, who does our tree inspections. She went out and inspected the property as well as, through the photos that I sent her. She sent me a memo telling me that it was a protected tree and what steps needed to be taken after, of course, her doing her inspection.
And Judge, I'm looking under triage memo, if Your Honor has it, and it's also on the screen for the memo that Ms. Sanders is referencing.
Mr. Uribe,
Yes.
are you able to see the screen?
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
And usually with that, as the photo is showing, and as well as the ticket, I also, sent this notice out. I inspected the tree, but because I didn't know if it was a protected tree or not, I, contacted triage and attached this to the notice, the ticket notice as well.
We're gonna hold the officer in contempt. We're holding the officer in contempt. All right, you may proceed.
I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Okay, so,
Okay. Yes, sir.
first of all, thank you for letting me speak here in the hearing.
Mhm.
In regards to communication towards Ms. Sanders, I have been to the Office of Code Enforcement before requesting an appointment with her because I have called her several times, left messages to her office, and there has been no reply whatsoever. So Ms. Sanders, if you miss me at home, I work like everybody else does. And if you left a notice, I went with the notice to the Code Enforcement's office to request for an appointment with you, and they told me to call you back to your office number. That's one thing. I have not received a call from her at all, from the several times I tried to approach to her. Second, the state of Florida have regulations about sea-grade trimming, guidelines stated by them that overpowers the city local laws. And in no reason we have broken any of these laws. If the city of North Miami has any regulations, they have never been given to any of the property owners to take care of any specific tree whatsoever. So there's lack of educational and there's lack of communication to the property owners. I know it's our responsibility to take care of the trees. And that's why 5 days before the hurricane was gonna hit us, I took care of this tree. No reason I tried to abuse it, I tried to damage it. I have pictures of the day that the tree was cut. All the garbage was disposed. There was no residue whatsoever anywhere. And I have pictures from today of the same tree. And in no reason the tree is dying, it's being hurt, no roots have been damaged. This is a tree that's been in my property for over 30 years.
Mhm.
And we trim it the same way every year.
You're saying
So-
you have always trimmed it the same way that it is? Do we have the aerial photo of what the tree is supposed to look like?
I don't believe there was an aerial photo submitted.
And the reason why we did the trimming on the tree is because all the branches were facing already towards the home, towards the house, towards the property. And in the previous hurricane, Hurricane Irma, part of the tree broke off and it landed on my roof and it damaged my fence. I don't know if you have, aerial pictures of that, but we had damage over our property. We didn't want that to happen again. So to avoid endangerment of even the public, we decided to trim the tree 5 days before the hurricane even was expected to hit. And also, Miss Sanders was not there when Officer Crystal and whoever else was there were in call to be cited, to make a citation to my person. I spoke with Miss Crystal over the phone, and I let her know that I was not at home, and I was not gonna be at home until another hour. They didn't wait for me. They moved forward and went to another property to do whatever else they were doing. Nobody else after that approached to me to talk to me about the incident, and I am the homeowner. So these are the facts.
Judge, I can pull up an aerial for you if you give me a moment.
Sure.
So you can see the before.
Also, Your Honor, I'm right now in the North Miami zoning code, okay? And I'm on the pruning or trimming a tree in a manner, this is section 52309, tree abuse prohibited, okay? The guidelines don't specify an amount per se of what the tree should be cut. So the local law for the city is not well defined. It's just a matter of one person's own perspective. And I don't think that's clear. Second of all, the state of Florida, it has an exception criteria for the sea grape tree, which is the tree that I have, Cocoloba ubifera, and that's its scientific name, okay? And it states that trees cannot be cut below 6 feet in height. As you can see from the pictures, my tree goes another 10 feet over my house, over the roof of my house. So in no manner we have actually caused any abuse whatsoever to this tree.
Give us 1 second.
I'm trying to pull it up. I don't see it. Let me try one more thing. Do like Wanna make it flat? Do any of you can show the, view? Judge, the best view we can get is a satellite view. No, should be up. Shortly.
Okay, where am I looking at now?
So, the red dot here is 12590 Croton Road. That's, the property.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make these better.
Trying to see which tree it is.
I don't think we're trying to get the street view, but I don't think it's, available. We have as a satellite.
Yeah, that's a digitalized picture that doesn't really look like a tree per se. So,
In the meantime, Judge, I can ask the homeowners some questions if you allow
Sure.
me to.
Go ahead.
Sir, so you stated that because 5 days before the hurricane was coming, you did cut down the tree, correct?
correct.
So, and how long have you lived at this property for?
Several years.
How many years would you say? You said it's the tree has
10,
been there,
15.
and you said the tree has been there for 30 years?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you've been living there for the past 10 to 15 years, so you've been a resident of North Miami for the past 10 to
That's
15
correct.
years. So that means you would be familiar with the code of ordinances that North Miami has?
No,
So,
because they were written lately. They were not written years ago.
okay, have you ever, well, they are available, they are online and they're here as well.
I have them right here.
Okay. Now, did you at any point call I'm sorry, ma'am?
That's my wife.
Oh, okay. At any point, did you call the city of North Miami?
For what?
To advise that you wanted to cut the tree or try to get a permit to cut it before the hurricane?
I didn't have to call the city of North Miami because the governor DeSantis let everybody know that that's the time to take care of your property, to secure it.
No, that wasn't my question. My question was, at any point, did you call the city
I
of
just
North?
said I didn't call the
If
city
I
of
can
North
finish
Miami.
my question, I'll reiterate it. It's a simple yes or no. At any point, did you call the city to advise to try to get a permit, to advise that you were gonna cut down the tree?
Excuse me, we didn't cut down the tree, we just trimmed some
Ma'am?
branches.
Judge?
Have you just walked in?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
his wife.
swear in, please. Officer, swear in.
Excuse me, but you have to rephrase
Sir,
it.
It's not.
1 second, please.
Now, if you're giving testimony today on the case, please rise, raise your right hand as I issue the oath. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say aloud, I do.
Yes, sir.
That's
Thank
good.
Okay, please state your full name and relationship to the property.
My name is,
Speak into the mic.
my name is Caitlin Grandfield. I'm the wife of Gerald Uribe, who owns the home at 12490 Croton Road. Just wanted to say that we did not cut the tree down. The tree is currently over 40 feet tall. We just trimmed the branches. And the reason that we did that was because the branches used to hang over the sidewalk, which was a danger to the public. It used to hang over our driveway, which is a danger to our vehicles, and used to hang over our roof, which in the past we did have roof damage because of the branches of the sea grape tree. So we just had the branches trimmed. That's all. The tree remains. It's huge. It's, like I said, between 40 and 50 feet tall. We have photos of it right here. We have 5 large trees in our yard. We do love trees. We are very pro-environment. All of our neighbors want us to cut our trees down because they don't like the debris. And we're just trying to upkeep our trees and our property and to ensure that our property and the public don't get hurt if these branches were to have fallen. So we just trimmed the branches. The tree remains. So I don't think you need to call the city to notify if you're going to just trim branches. Is that correct?
So, Judge, obviously the tree remains. It's not for removal of the tree in its entirety. Under 5-2309 for tree abuse, on subsection 10, pruning or trimming a tree in a manner that does not follow acceptable pruning or trimming practices established by the standards is a violation. So I understand what you're saying, but pruning or trimming it is one of the violations in a way that's not acceptable. The tree expert who we hired, and Judge, I can pull up the previous letter saying that this is one of the trees that should not be getting trimmed, did state that when she reviewed the photographs that were submitted, it was tree abuse because of the manner that this tree was trimmed or pruned.
I have the exemption criteria right here. It says that trees 6 inches in height or more, sorry, 6 feet in height or more, which I said our tree, we have photos of it right here, is
Can you
currently
pass it forward? Can you
currently
show it to-
between 40 and 50 feet tall, as you can see.
Show it to the state.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, to the city attorney.
Okay, so I was just saying that we meet the exemption criteria. Trees 6 feet in height or more, no more than 1/3 reduction in height of each tree annually. We did not cut more than 1/3 of the tree, as you could see in the photos. The second bullet point says, provided there is no more than 1/3 of the leaf mass removed annually. As you see, at least 1/3 or more remains of the leaf mass. And the final criteria for exemption, pruning shall not result in plant being reduced to less than 6 feet in height. Again, this is our house right here. As you can see, the tree towers over our house, over our driveway, and the sidewalk is right here. We just had the branches trimmed that were over the sidewalk, over our roof, and over our driveway. The tree remains. We love the tree. Again, all of our neighbors want us to cut our tree down. They say it's too big, it's too messy. We take care every year to have our trees trimmed. That's all.
Okay.
Judge, I understand what they're saying, but I obviously disagree with the interpretation. Our expert states otherwise. And I'll read to the last paragraph. She says, based on an inspection of the remaining portion of the tree in the Google Maps aerial views to determine the original canopy coverage, staff has determined that approximately 700 square feet of canopy was removed. And because of the DVH of the tree is greater than 18 feet, the tree is considered a specimen tree, in which case mitigation requirements are doubled, accounting to a canopy replacement value of 1,400 square feet. And furthermore, per North Miami Code, Chapter 29, Tree Preservation and Protection Section, which I stated earlier, 5-2309, penalties assessed shall be doubled the amount of canopy replacement required by the code. The property owner must apply for a tree mitigation permit in order to replace the canopy that was removed. So the city's, position is that, yes, obviously the tree is still where, in place where it was, but the way that it was trimmed and pruned is not acceptable under the standards, under the ANSIA-300 standards under subsection 10 and 2309.
Excuse me, Judge, can I just submit this photo for you to see? This is the current condition
You can show it
of
to
the
her.
tree. As you see, again, our house is right here, the roof. The canopy does remain. Again, we just had branches trimmed that were towering over our driveway, over our roof, and over the sidewalk.
And that picture was taken this morning.
That was taken this morning.
Judge, and that can be done, but the issue here is that the city needs to be notified. These permits are required for a reason, not only for the preservation of these trees, but it can also be a safety hazard. I mean, in this past hurricane, one of the people who died was from Florida, and it was because of a tree and trying to prepare for this hurricane. These standards and codes are in place not only for the preservation of the tree, but also for the safety of the homeowners.
I
So-
take offense to that comment. The reason that we cut the tree was for the protection of the public. Again, these branches were towering over the sidewalk. We have a 3-year-old toddler who I just dropped off at school, which is the reason I came in late. So if you're talking about protection, this is what we're doing. We're homeowners,
this is
we're trying to
not-
be responsible
Ma'am,
homeowners.
this is
One at a
not-
time, guys.
This is not personal, and it's not my job. I'm
Okay, but
not
you're
trying
talking about
to-
a death in
but I'm-
Florida. What does that
but
have
I'm
to
trying
do with our
tell you-
tree?
I'm trying to tell
Okay.
you the reason why the code was enacted,
Okay, I'm trying to tell you the reason we trimmed our tree branches. That's it.
and it's a violation. That's
Why
what
is it
I'm
a
trying to tell you.
violation?
It's
No, it's
under the
not.
code, ma'am.
No, you're
Okay.
not
Guys,
correct with that.
okay.
You're allegating something that is not true.
I just take offense to that comment because we are responsible homeowners, and that's what our intent was with the trimming of our seed grape tree. We take pride in our trees. Again, we have 5 large trees in our yard. We get them trimmed every year. And as soon as the branches were cut, they were picked up and taken away. They weren't left on on the swale or anything like that. We paid a considerable amount just to have that tree trimmed.
Judge, I can pass up the code if Your Honor wants to review it.
Yes, please, I'm reviewing their exemption criteria that they sent up as well.
Your Honor, I would just like to say one more thing whenever you're finished reading.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, in this exemption criteria that we submitted, if you see the dark green area here, and you look right underneath it to that first bullet point, it says maintenance of sea grapes in accordance with the conditions described above and not in conflict with the standards published in ANSI A300 Part 1. Tree, shrub, and other woody plant maintenance, standard practices, pruning are exempt from the permitting requirements of Chapter 161. Florida statutes for any number of consecutive years. Again, if we were to have wanted to cut a tree, of course we would have requested a permit, but we were just trimming the branches, that's all.
Judge, I can also read the definition under hat tricking if Your Honor would like, under our code.
Explain to me on the memo that was sent where it says, however, that species is exempt, prohibited, and therefore does not warrant a violation.
1 second, let me go back to the Trish memo.
That's the first paragraph.
Oh, yes, Judge. So this is in regards to the neighboring property to the south. That was just because of the photos. Towards the end, it says, on the neighboring property to the south were improperly trimmed, where they crossed over the fence to this property. However, that species is exempt or prohibited and therefore does not warrant a violation. That's not regarding this property. So the arborist is going to see the overall view and speak on everything. What she does speak on this property is the third paragraph, because the second paragraph is just stating the Muni Code and the violation, which I previously read regarding this specific tree here.
We never saw any arborists come to our property. The woman who was going around giving citations, she didn't even know what tree that was. She was asking me if it was protected or not. And I just wanted to say, I find that kind of predatory behavior to go out in the days before a hurricane and go to a neighborhood and to give violations for people who are just trying to upkeep their property. I could understand if people are leaving large branches on the swale that could get blown away. But again, in our case, right after these branches were cut, they were immediately hauled away. And again, this was trimming of branches, it's nothing more.
I'm a bit stumped on,
Did Your Honor need me to read the definition for hat tricking? Or Your Honor has it or knows?
go ahead.
So it means to uniformly remove the major part of the tree's crown, reducing it in height, and leaving a number of large bare limbs characterized by a number of stubbed off branches, or pruning a tree by removing any branch 3 inches or greater in diameter at any point other than the point where the lateral branches meet the main trunk. So, I mean, Your Honor can see the photographs. This was done. I know it's not. Maybe Your Honor stumped a little bit because it's not like it's not as easy as the whole tree is removed, but this is a violation when it comes to pruning and trimming the trees in the city. A mere phone call, to the city to let them know that the code has been, published.
My husband had been calling Shauna Sanders for days without any answer.
And this is,
This
and I'm
is
just,
post.
this is
This
post.
is
I'm saying
post. This
pre.
is after the tree was trimmed.
Okay.
I guess what stops me is I'm pretty visual. I would want to see what the tree looked like prior to,
Right, and
them
there's no
cutting it
photos of
down.
it prior.
I don't have a pre-photo of what the tree looked like and to be able to determine. And I don't have the arborist here for me to be able to question him or her as to what does this tree typically or normally looks like? What is it supposed to look like? Because they're saying that they just trimmed it down
And if you
to
can see the height,
prevent to prevent the branches from falling over their roof, to prevent the branches from falling over their vehicle or the sidewalk.
But that
So
is, yeah, Judge, but that is a violation, and I explained why, previously, like, I totally understand the reason for, them wanting to be safe and having kids at home and for the public and why they're trimming it down, but it just needs to be done the correct way and with a permit or with notice to the city.
Oh, yes, you're here.
I think it would have been a greater atrocity had a branch fallen over the sidewalk where people bike and walk with their kids. We were trying to be proactive homeowners in trimming our tree. That's all.
I'm
In terms
very
of-
concerned about this case, so I want to either table it. Is our arborist nearby?
She's a consultant, so we'd have to table it and have her come in, and I can have her come in.
This is causing
do
us a
that.
lot of stress, this case. You know, again, this is really, I feel, hurting us as homeowners and as citizens and residents
I
of North
understand,
Miami.
but at the same time, if you guys telling me that you've been doing the same thing for the past 15 years, we need somebody to be able to speak on it and tell you, because then you're gonna be back here every year. Okay, so let's get it done and let's get it done right.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yes, Judge, you just gotta give me the date, and I'll reach out to see if she's available and make sure she's available and work it out.
Can I
When
just
is
add
the
one,
next court date?
one more thing?
Sure.
You know, since we always get our trees trimmed. We have, like I said, 5 very large trees on our property, so every year we get them trimmed. So, you know, if this was abuse, don't you think that the tree would have died by now if we have
Not
continued doing-
necessarily. From all
doing
the testimonies that I've heard from arborists,
Mhm.
that's not necessarily correct. Sometimes the trees do, what do you call it? Flourish. But at the same time, I believe the testimony is that they're still not safe. If you abuse the tree for some reason or another, sometimes they still do have great green leaves, but at the same time, the arborist will tell you that it's not a safe tree. That doesn't necessarily mean that the tree was not abused. Just because it's growing back and, you know, it's blooming and we have green leaves or flowers, that doesn't necessarily means that it hasn't been abused. So because I want to know it too, and because this is your property and you want to be sure that you're doing it the correct way, I want us to subpoena the arborist to be
Sure.
present for the next hearing.
Okay.
When is our next hearing, Madam Clerk? November
November 13th.
13th. 9 a.m., right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, is that a date that you're here, or do you mind if it's in front,
I don't mind.
if it's in front of
if
someone
it's
else?
in front of someone else.
Okay.
You understand? So long that we get the information out there
Sure.
and then we're clear.
So, I'm sorry, you wouldn't be here, Your Honor?
I may or may not be
Yeah.
the magistrate
Oh,
who
okay.
hears it, but at least we're gonna have a full hearing with the arborist present, to be able to testify in terms of, you know, their expertise on this. And it's gonna help you as well. If you have large trees on your property, you need to be sure that you're cutting the trees the right way. Okay?
Your Honor, one more thing, please. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Does this mean that we are actually not following the guidelines made by the state of Florida?
That's what we're gonna hammer out at the next hearing.
Okay.
Okay? I'm gonna give these back. Whose
Correction, the
photos
next
are
hearing
these?
is November 20th.
November 20th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is yours, right? And this is your photograph?
You can't make it.
So did you say the 20th or the 13th?
When is
The
it?
November 20th will be the next hearing date. My apologies.
Yes.
Counselors, are these yours? Or are these yours? Thank you. Does the date work for you guys?
I'm just gonna check my calendar really quick. Let's see, November 20th. Yes, that works.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's table it for November 20th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
The next case is SDCVT 2019-00080, Rodney T. Yvonne.
Is anyone present? Rodney? Yes, he's here.
Okay.
Come
And
forward, sir.
Officer Wayne Clark.
Were you here all morning?
I drove from Daytona where I reside. This is my mother and my deceased sister's home.
Okay, so you need to be sworn in. You weren't
Yeah.
present when we,
No, ma'am. I was
Okay,
not. No,
officer?
No, Your Honor.
okay. Swear him in, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do Do you swear from that testimony you're about to give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and
morning.
nothing but the truth? if
Speak
so
up a
help
little
you?
louder.
I do.
I do.
Oh, he heard? Okay.
Good morning. Can you please state your name for the record?
Rod Yovan.
Not you, sir.
Oh.
The witness, sorry.
Actually, thank you, because I forgot to inquire. Yes, please state your full name again, sir, and your
Rod-
relationship to the property.
Rodney Yovan, and I'm the brother of the deceased.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And I'm not sure about what house it was at, because
Okay, we'll tell you in a few. Go ahead, Officer Clark.
Wayne Clark, City of North Miami Code Compliance.
Mr. Clark, did you give a violation on 8/21/2019 to the property at 1565 Northwest 123rd Street in North Miami, Florida? Can we put the ticket up on the screen, please?
Well,
Okay, this one is not
actually-
legible.
Actually,
see it?
I can zoom in.
Okay, great.
yeah, that's the ticket itself. But prior to the ticket, they were issued a notice of violation to correct within 24 hours. Then the ticket was issued.
I want to
So,
speak just as to the civil violation ticket, which I have here. Do you recognize it?
Yes,
How do you recognize it?
I wrote it out and issued it.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition when you wrote it, in your handwriting?
Mm-hmm.
The city would like to introduce the civil violation ticket into evidence.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, can you please explain to us how you came across the violation at this property?
My routine daily inspections in my zone area, I noticed that the both recycle container and also the garbage container were both filled with construction debris.
Now, I'm going to show you a series of photos. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I took them.
And you recognize them because you took them?
Yes,
Are they in the same or substantially the same condition as when you took them? I see they're dated 8/21/2019.
yes. The day before and the day after I issued the ticket, the cans are still remain in the same position, and the same content is still we're still in the cans.
The city would like to introduce these photographs into evidence.
All right.
Now, did you have an opportunity to speak to anyone on the property, Mr. Clark?
No one was at the property.
Okay. And you witnessed, is this the recycle bin that you witnessed in front of the property with the debris inside?
Well, actually, that picture itself is the garbage container, and then the lighter green one is the recycle container.
Okay. And what is this here that it has,
Looked like demo construction debris.
so it has construction debris in the recycling? Okay. I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Sir, do you have any questions for the officer?
yes, we did have words, probably within the day after this ticket was issued in the street, and I explained to him that this warning went to 1545, and that's when I came in here to straighten it out and got this hearing, because even the person who gave me this hearing downstairs across the street couldn't, make out whose, what address this went to. So these people, from my nephew, took this to that 1545, and then days later, we were issued a citation, or this was after the citation was issued 24 hours, I guess, after he left this warning. So my thing is, I got a 98-year-old mother in 1575. 1565, my sister passed away in February. There's nobody living there. And the dumpsters from across the street come to my property because they have so many cars. So they bring their dumpsters to the other side of the street. Ours, because we lost a few of them years ago, we marked our dumpsters. M for Millen, Y for my mother. Now, my mother's 98. There was nobody that could move the dumpsters. I explained to Mr. Clark, and he says that that the only way to do this was come down here and issue this hearing. So I have photos of my dumpsters that are behind a giant 8-foot hedge, and I just, this stuff happens. So there's nobody living in that house on 1565. And 1575, my mother really has a hard time getting down the stairs. So what happens is the neighbors across the street will bring her dumpsters to the street and bring them back. But when I returned, what was it, 2 weeks ago, again, I come down 3 and 4 times a month and stay for 4 days at a time and then try and keep working, taking care of my mother with hospice and my family. My family, you know, lives at the other end of the block, and so my mother's constantly watched by, you know, people and hospice. So when they can't be there, I come down and I stay, which is my time till Tuesday of next week. So my problem is that these dumpsters are being used across the street, and they have so many cars, they bring them to the other side of the street, and then they're carried away. So when I returned and talked to Mr. Clark, I took it back across the street, and it was taken, you know, the next thing I know, the people are wheeling it back in, and ours are still placed behind the fence because nobody's living there. So it's a catch-22. Yeah, if I was there, I would have moved it on the warning, but I would have brought it back across the street like I did, and then the city took it away. So I'm here. I drove all the way from Daytona to try and straighten this out. And I have pictures and my photos of Y's and M garbage dumpsters because we have lost our dumpsters in the past. So years ago, we marked them. So ours sat empty, and in front of our property, we have full dumpsters, which are ours. So it happens all the time. Somebody dumps, then everybody else starts dumping. But they were self-contained. They were easy enough to wheel across the street, and they were picked up by the city as normal. Any big debris, everybody takes it to the curb, and once a week we get a claw, and they come and pick up branches, whatever you have as far as building. So this went to 1545 and was brought back to 1565. And if you look at the warning, nobody in my family could understand where it was. So the owners of 1545 brought it back, put it on our fence.
Show it. Let me see what you're talking about, the hearing notice, or
No,
what is it talking
not the
about?
hearing notice. This was the original
violation.
warning. This is a warning.
Okay.
By God, we would have moved it if there was anybody there at the house and
Show it to the city, and she'll pass it up.
and
So the violation is for, what is the violation for, guys?
1565.
It's for
and-
garbage accumulation, Judge, under 9-20A.
Well, if I may say something, Special Magistrate, I did realize that there was the wrong address, and I did go back and reissue another
Another one, so
notice of
that's when
violation.
that response, so I don't have the other one.
Oh, another notice of violation.
Yeah,
So he
No,
had the
there was-
notice.
there
yeah,
was-
I've talked to
but
him.
then,
Like you
here's,
say, I talked to him right at the property, you know.
no, we talked at the end of the street in front of 15,
Well, I talked to him.
I ran you down.
Period.
You were in the neighborhood the day I came to back to Miami. So,
I have
Speaking to the
talked
mic,
him.
sir.
He is aware, though. You know, he was aware. You know, and he. You
that
know,
was,
he
the
said it
dumpster
wasn't
was already
his.
moved and taken away when I saw him, so.
Okay, so your testimony is that these cans, they don't belong to you.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't belong to your
Yeah,
house,
yes,
your mom.
Honor, that's true.
And Judge, I'm passing up, Mr. Clark has it, the 9-20. So the issue is that because it's in front of his house, he will forever get a notice if it's in front of his home. So I don't know if it's something that he needs to speak to his neighbors or, you know, whoever, if he knows is doing this, take photographs of it, you know, call the city, call the police and let them know because it's on his property. He's responsible for,
It's on the
unfortunately, for the stuff that happens on his property.
It's not on our property, it's on the easeway for the dumpsters to be taken away.
In front of his
my
property, which is,
My problem is, just last week when I left, I had to go back for this week, back to Central Florida. There was 3 green dumpsters in front of my mother's house. So the 2 neighbors, because of their cars, will bring them over. And I don't care, as long as there's no, you know, or what is
Well,
she gonna?
you need to show them the violation and tell them that
Well, I
you
will.
are getting cited
Yeah.
for
There's
them
nobody
to.
living in the house that they actually put the
Well, see,
summons.
actually, I didn't know that. You know that there
There's
was that the house was vacant.
Okay.
You know. And he did tell me that it came from somewhere else, but it's hard for me to figure that out.
Correct.
You know, if
because it's in
like
front of his property.
neatly
Right.
just placed out there, like as if he put it out there.
Correct. So
But-
do you understand?
Yes,
He's
you're
not.
right.
He doesn't know, and he wasn't aware that the house was empty.
But
So
we have-
you need. So since you know that your neighbors across the street is the one that's putting the dumpsters in front of you said your cousin?
You know, I bought the home years ago, and my sister, I put it in her name to take care of my mother in 1575. So 65, 75, 85, and then at the corner, my nephew owns. So, you know, we've never had an infraction against us. We keep our properties up the best we can. In fact, on 1565, I'm here, you know, this weekend, and we're gonna be painting it. So, you know, it did need attention. And so, you know, we fixed the wood on the fascias back last Christmas, you know, when she was still alive. And, you know, it was really hard for her to get things done, you know, and that's a personal thing. But we've all got together, and we're making these properties the way they should be, up to standard, and we keep them that way.
Well, we appreciate that. At the same time, talk to your neighbor or neighbors. I don't know who's doing it, and tell them and show them that you are getting cited. And but
All of them are marked with a big yellow and an M on our dumpsters. So
okay,
Now I know.
huh?
I say now I know. I've been
Right.
educated about homeowner.
and the only reason why we
But-
did that is because we had them disappear in the past, you know, 'cause, you know.
And then also, Special Magistrate, if I may say, if you could give me the residents that are doing that, I can give them a warning that
Greatly
their trash
appreciate it.
must be placed in front of the property
Property,
from which it was accumulated from.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And go from there.
Okay. So I will dismiss the ticket.
Greatly appreciate it. I came
All
a long
right.
way to straighten it out, and he's
Yeah, but you need
he's in
to.
our neighborhood all the time, and you know, he keeps it tight and right, and that's his job.
Thank you.
Right.
And you know, I'm helping the lady at the corner, and she's gonna be painting too. And I talked to Rachel about it, and we just, anything he does, we comply. We just to get it done.
Awesome.
And
All
if-
right,
and-
sir.
And if it takes another, you know, we all work with each other on that whole block. So we've been there. My mother's been there 80 years.
Oh,
She's
wow.
98 here this year. So
That's a blessing.
she still runs the show. You know,
That's good.
very
That's
sound
good.
mind.
All right. Have a
Thank you,
good
Your
day,
Honor.
sir. All right.